Right now, millions of people are probably closing their eyes, taking a deep intentional breath, and, just using mindfulness to detach from their incredibly stressful day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's so common now.
Right. And maybe you're one of them. Your inbox is overflowing, your responsibilities are piling up, and you just need a minute of peace.
Yeah, just a quick reset.
Exactly. But what if that inner peace you're chasing is actually just like a socially acceptable form of psychological cowardice?
Wow. That is quite the framing.
I know, it's heavy. But what if all that deep breathing and observing your thoughts is just a highly sophisticated way of hiding from reality and ultimately making your life worse?
Well, it's a striking accusation,
Mm.
especially against a practice that has basically become the modern reflex for handling stress.
Mm.
We are so conditioned to look inward to find an oasis of calm when the outside world gets chaotic.
We really are. And that brings us to the mission of today's deep dive. We are unpacking a very provocative 2012 essay written by Sufang.
Yeah, and the title doesn't pull any punches at all.
Not at all. It's titled Osho's Meditation Method Doesn't Work.
Very direct.
Very. So our goal today is to deeply explore the author's controversial critique of modern spiritual practices and specifically why he thinks Osho's methods fail.
Right. And from there, we'll analyze his radically different, intensely practical blueprint for achieving true inner peace.
Which, spoiler alert, heavily focuses on solving your actual real-world problems first.
Yeah, it's a fascinating intellectual exercise. I mean, we're taking something universally praised like mindfulness and meditation and examining this rigorously constructed systemic argument against it.
And just to set the stage for you listening, this source material challenges mainstream meditation head-on. Our job here is just to act as your guides through this philosophical terrain.
Exactly. We aren't here to endorse these viewpoints or, join a commune or take sides.
No communes today. We're simply mapping out the author's unique argument so you can understand the architecture of this critique.
And the way the author builds this argument is actually really interesting.
It is, because before he tears down popular meditation, he actually starts by building up its most famous proponent, Osho.
Right. For context, Osho was a massively influential and highly controversial spiritual teacher.
Huge falling.
Massive. And his meditation techniques, which focus heavily on active awareness and observation, they're still practiced by thousands of groups all over the world today.
Yep.
And the essay actually begins with incredibly high praise.
Mm.
The author calls Osho a great enlightener of thought.
He even describes Osho's ideas as literally being a bomb.
Yeah, a bomb that shatters the mental cages confining humanity for centuries.
The imagery there is just super vivid. He's crediting Osho with being this massive liberator. By dropping this intellectual bomb, Osho supposedly allows people to see beyond their historical confines, enabling them to face facts with greater clarity and reason, totally free from traditional dogma.
Which sounds amazing, right?
It does. But okay, let's unpack this, because here's where I really need to push back on the author's premise.
Go for it.
If Osho is this incredible liberator who clears our minds and helps us see facts clearly, how can the author then turn around and claim his specific meditation methods are completely useless illusions?
Ah, I see what you mean.
Right. Like if I smell smoke in a burning building and wake you up, I've still saved your life even if I'm not a trained firefighter.
Yeah.
Waking someone up is a form of guidance, isn't it?
See, that is where the author makes a very sharp, very specific distinction between enlightenment and guidance.
Okay, break that down for me.
The entire pivot of the essay relies on this difference. Spotting a problem or realizing you're trapped in a burning building, like your example,
Yeah.
that is enlightenment. But knowing the exact escape route, having the architectural blueprint of the building to get out safely, that's guidance.
Oh, I see.
The author claims that despite being a liberator of thought, Osho doesn't actually understand the underlying principles and mysteries of life, or the true nature of time and space.
So he can blow up the cage you're trapped in, but he leaves you standing in the rubble with absolutely no idea where to walk next.
That captures the author's view perfectly, actually. The text states explicitly that Osho knows exactly where the problems lie, but he lacks the actual ways and methods to solve them.
Right.
Because of this gap, the author argues that none of the methods Osho advocates are ultimate or final. In fact, he says that if someone follows Osho's methods completely, just focusing on awareness, observation, and mindful breathing, it will inevitably be futile.
Futile. Just totally useless.
Yeah, he dismisses these core methods as merely scratching the surface and indulging in unrealistic fantasies.
Which is just a massive claim considering there are thousands of groups globally claiming they get fantastic results from these exact methods. I mean, people swear by mindfulness. Does the author just, like, ignore all those people?
Well, he doesn't ignore them. He diagnoses them.
Diagnoses them.
Yeah. He calls this entire phenomenon ostrich psychology.
Oh. Like burying your head in the sand when a predator approaches. You can't see the lion, so you convince yourself you're safe.
Exactly. And while your head is in the sand, you're telling everyone else how peaceful the darkness is.
Wow. He views these practices not as tools for liberation, but as a form of self-deception that fundamentally fails to solve the actual threat.
But, okay, if Osho's methods are just a band-aid, or ostrich psychology, that means his fundamental understanding of what peace actually is must be completely broken, right?
According to the author, yes.
So how does Osho define it, and where does Feng say he goes wrong?
This is where the structural critique really begins. The author targets Osho's specific definition of meditation, which is surpassing the mind and entering unknown dimensions.
Surpassing the mind and entering unknown dimensions. I mean, it sounds lovely and ethereal on a bumper sticker.
Right, very poetic.
But practically, what does that actually mean?
According to the author, it means absolutely nothing, and that's the problem. He argues that this definition is fundamentally erroneous and ambiguous.
Okay.
The logic here is structural. If the foundational definition of your practice is flawed and vague, then any meditation method built upon that foundation will inevitably be disorderly and chaotic.
Like you're building a house on quicksand. Exactly. The author actually argues that practicing under Osho's definition makes it increasingly difficult to achieve tranquility the more you do it because you're essentially chasing a ghost.
You're trying to navigate using a map where the destination is just labeled, somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So what is the counter definition then? How does Shufeng define true tranquility?
He provides a starkly different, very grounded definition. He says, tranquility is when the mind dwells nowhere.
Dwells nowhere.
Yeah. And then the essay provides this detailed, highly traditional Buddhist-style description of what this state looks like. The text describes a state unbound by form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma.
Wait, pause for a second. Dharma.
Yeah, dharma.
Before we go further into this list, what exactly does the author mean by that in this context? Because that's a word people throw around a lot.
It is a great question because it's definitely a loaded term. In this specific Buddhist philosophical context, dharma doesn't just mean cosmic law or teachings. It refers to all phenomena.
Oh, interesting.
It means the conceptual rules of reality.
Yeah.
The very ideas that make up our understanding of the universe. So when he says unbound by dharma, he means a state of mind that isn't clinging to any concepts or intellectual constructs whatsoever.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Continue with the description.
Right, so the author goes on to say, this state has no sensation, thought, or consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind.
Woo.
No realm of fight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, and also no end of ignorance, no old age and death, and also no end of old age and death, no suffering, origination, cessation, path, no wisdom, and also no attainment.
I mean, that is incredibly dense. It's essentially stripping away every single conceivable metric of human experience. You're negating the physical senses, the intellect, even the spiritual concepts of suffering and enlightenment.
It's absolute zero. It is a mind completely untethered from reaction. And to bolster why this is so critical, the author brings in a quote from Zhu Liang.
Oh, the historical military strategist.
Yes. Widely considered the embodiment of wisdom in Chinese culture. Zhu Liang famously said, nothing can go far without tranquility.
It sounds like Zhu Liang is saying peace isn't the result of a successful journey, it's the required fuel to even start one. Does Zhu Feng take it that far?
He takes it even further. He adds that without this profound tranquility, there can be no health, no order, no efficiency, no harmony, and no elevation in a person's life. He distills it all down to one core truth. Tranquility is having a calm mind.
The contrast between the two philosophies is extreme. Think about it like this, for you listening. Osho's version of meditation sounds like trying to float away into outer space to escape gravity.
Right.
You're surpassing the mind, trying to enter unknown dimensions to get away from the weight of your life. But Su Feng's version, this mind that dwells nowhere, it sounds like becoming entirely immune to gravity right where you are standing.
Yes.
You aren't going to a new dimension. You are just completely unaffected by the sensory inputs and stressors of this one.
That's a very helpful distinction. But of course, describing an absolute state of tranquility where you are immune to gravity is one thing. Actually achieving it is another.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because this is the core focus of the deep dive. This is the part that really subverts everything we're taught about spiritual retreats.
It really does.
Because you'd think the advice on how to reach this ultimate unbound, detached state would involve, I don't know, years of silent retreating in a monastery. But how do we actually achieve this? The author's answer is shockingly grounded. He says you have to fix your actual life first.
He insists on it. The author's primary directive is simply start by solving problems.
Yeah.
It's basically Maslow's hierarchy of needs applied directly to spiritual
He
practice.
gives these vivid, everyday examples that are just so brutally practical.
They really are.
He says if your stomach is growling from hunger, first find something to eat. Satisfy your hunger. Otherwise, any meditation technique you try is going to struggle to calm your mind because your biology is just screaming at you.
Biology will always override philosophy.
Hmm.
And he continues with environmental factors, like if there is a gas leak in your home, you must resolve that issue first.
Yeah, obviously.
You literally cannot meditate with a leaking gas pipe. The physiological danger will agitate the mind.
I love the crying baby example, too. He says, if a child is crying nearby, you can't just close your eyes, cross your legs, and chant a mantra to find inner peace.
No, you'd be a terrible parent.
Right. You have to get up, soothe the child, make them happy, and resolve the crying issue. Otherwise, tranquility is impossible.
Because until you face the physical reality, your brain is fundamentally wired to keep sending you alarm signals. The author argues that if you have a pile of worries and unfinished tasks, traveling to a remote mountain cave or deep into a forest to meditate just won't help.
It's pointless.
Your mind will never settle because your troubles will simply follow you to the ends of the earth.
It's a brilliant critique of the escapist fantasy. Trying to meditate away a real-world problem is exactly like putting a piece of black electrical tape over your car's check engine light and calling yourself a master mechanic.
That is exactly it.
Sure, you don't see the glowing red warning light anymore, and you might feel a temporary sense of relief as you drive, but the engine is still fundamentally broken. It's still going to blow up on the highway.
The author takes that exact concept and applies it to the human condition. He argues that attempting to achieve peace through sitting quietly while your core physical issues remain unresolved is entirely artificial.
Yeah.
He specifically lists sustenance, shelter, health, aging, sickness, and death as fundamental realities.
Yeah.
Without addressing these issues, all attempts at tranquility are, in his words, merely scratching the surface.
And he doesn't pull his punches on how harmful he thinks this is. He uses a really stark analogy to drive this home, right?
It's perhaps the most aggressive comparison in the text. The author states that using meditation or retreating into solitude when fundamental life issues remain unresolved is like injecting oneself with morphine or heroin.
That is intense, equating mainstream mindfulness apps to shooting up narcotics.
He's making a point about the mechanism of avoidance. He's saying it might induce a temporary tranquility, a numbing of the pain, but it's chemical, or in this case, psychological numbing.
It wears off.
Exactly. Once the effects wear off, the reality returns, and the mind remains tangled and disturbed. True tranquility, he argues, is a mind genuinely free from worries, because the worries have actually been handled.
That makes a lot of sense.
When the mind dwells nowhere, free from afflictions and concerns, then even in the middle of chaotic activity, like a busy office or a noisy street, the mind remains tranquil.
You don't need the remote mountain cave if there are no gas leaks in your life. If you fix the reality, the mind frees itself. It stops sending alarm signals.
You face the problems directly. If you don't, he says, you are just deceiving yourself.
Okay, so let's follow his logic to the next level. Let's say we've done the work. We've fixed the gas leak. We've fed the baby. We've paid the bills. We've gone to the doctor.
Life is sorted.
Life is sorted. But the author argues there is an even higher, more profound step to permanent peace. Because you have to ask, if having problems causes a lack of peace, what causes the problems in the first place? Why do we suffer even when our physical needs are met?
And this is where it shifts from practical life advice into really deep philosophical territory. The author introduces the concept of no mind. And to explain this, he brings in a quote from Lao Tzu.
The ancient Chinese philosopher and founder of Taoism.
That's the one.
Right. So the author quotes Lao Tzu saying, favor and disgrace are like alarming dangers. Wealth and status are like great calamities.
Which is quite a statement.
Let's break that down for the listener because on the surface, that sounds backward. Most people spend their entire lives chasing wealth, status, and favor. Why are those considered dangers and calamities?
The essay explains Liesey's logic through a series of foundational questions. Why do we suffer these great calamities of stressing over our status? It's because we have a self.
Oh.
The text reads, if I no longer had a self, what calamities would I have? The anxiety of gaining favor or the terror of losing it only exists because there is an ego, a self, to experience that gain or loss.
Think about your own life listening to this. Getting passed over for a promotion at work only causes you mental anguish because you have an ego that demands the status and the validation.
Right.
The author is saying if you delete the ego, the promotion literally doesn't matter. You wouldn't lose a second of sleep over it.
The logic is entirely linear. Tranquility only arises as a need because there is a mind getting agitated by the concept of self. If you attain a state of no mind, where the self is dissolved, the very need for tranquility vanishes completely.
Because there's nothing left to be disturbed.
Exactly. Where would the disturbance come from if there is no ego to disturb?
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because this is where we have to reconcile the author's argument. He makes a massive leap here.
He really does.
He goes from incredibly practical, grounded advice, literally fix the gas leak in your kitchen, to a highly specific, almost mystical goal of dissolving the ego entirely. And the essay ends by giving a very rigid prescription for how to actually achieve this no-mind state.
Yeah, the conclusion of the text provides a definitive, structural roadmap. He states that to achieve this state of no mind, one must read his specific texts, the Chanyuan corpus and the Suifeng corpus,
Okay.
and then physically go and live in the second home community established by Lifechanyuan.
Okay, that's quite a pivot. We go from universal philosophy to a very specific reading list and a demand to move to a commune. How do we reconcile the everyday advice with this ultimate communal solution? What is the mechanism there? Why can't I just dissolve my ego in my suburban neighborhood once I've fixed my sink?
It comes down to the environment required for ego death. From the author's perspective, modern individualistic society is fundamentally designed to reinforce the self.
Oh, I see.
You have your house, your bank account, your career, your private property. The author sees this as a systemic trap. You can't kill the ego while participating daily in an economic and social system that requires and rewards the ego.
So the environment itself is a giant gas leak.
Exactly. The individualistic society is the ultimate gas leak. So his logical progression is this. First, manage your immediate physical world. Once those baseline problems are fixed, you are physically capable of addressing the root cause of suffering, the ego.
But you have to leave to do it.
Right. To actually dissolve it, you have to completely change your environment. The communal living structure of the second home is designed to strip away private property, individual status, and personal wealth, effectively starving the ego to death by removing the things it feeds on.
Wow. Whether you agree with his communal solution or not, you have to admit it's a remarkably complete logical system.
It is very thorough.
He diagnoses the failure of popular methods as ostrich psychology. He redefines the goal as a mind that dwells nowhere. He demands practical action first, and then he offers a specific communal solution to structurally dismantle the ego.
It's a meticulously structured argument against the solitary internal focus of modern mindfulness. He replaces the idea of closing your eyes in a quiet room with a demand for aggressive external action, followed by total communal integration.
It really makes you rethink the whole concept of taking a mental health day, doesn't it? We've covered a massive amount of ground today. We started by looking at how the author shatters the mental cages built by popular spiritual leaders like Osho, accusing those breathing methods of being little more than sophisticated avoidance.
Yes.
We explored the idea that true tranquility isn't floating away from your problems. It requires aggressively solving your mundane, real-world issues first.
And we follow that thread all the way to the ultimate philosophical goal presented in the text, dissolving the self entirely to reach a state of no mind, completely removing the capacity for psychological disturbance through a radical change in environment.
It's a lot to process, and it challenges a lot of our default behaviors. But I want to challenge you, listening right now, to look at your own life through this specific lens today. What are the gas leaks or the crying babies in your world that you're currently trying to just breathe through?
That's a great question to ask yourself.
What are the actionable problems you are trying to meditate away instead of just fixing?
It's a highly uncomfortable but powerful question. Are you using mindfulness as a tool for clarity to solve problems, or as a sophisticated form of cowardice to avoid them?
And that leads me to a final thought I want to leave you with today, something to mull over long after this deep dive is done.
Let's hear it.
The author says you have to fix all your worldly problems to find peace. But imagine if you actually did it. If all our physical and practical problems, every single bill paid, perfect physical health, every awkward conversation resolved, every task checked off, were miraculously solved overnight.
So nice.
Right. But would our minds actually finally be quiet? Or is the human brain simply hardwired to invent brand new invisible gas leaks to worry about, no matter how perfect reality gets?
A fascinating paradox to consider.
Until next time, keep diving deep.